All good?
Good. How are you?
Nice to see you.
Nice to see you.
Thank you for being here.
Sure. Thank you for picking us up.
And welcome to the HOD Weels.
Oh, it's
Right.
the HOD Weels.
Actually, my mandate at Vonovia is piloting, validating some business models, some ideas that we have that actually create a value on top of our core business. The topics are kind of different and the bandwidth is like kind of broad. We have several search fields and several ideas. And the question is always the same: where's the most potential in these kind of new business models? And
What we do at Targomo is basically we make an understanding of the location data that is at hand, and at the core of our business is basically mobility. So how reachable is a place, for instance.
Okay.
And so it is actually, as said, at the core of the business to combine points of interest with, for instance, socioeconomic data.
one reason why we are so happy with Targomo is it was not the tough part to insert and enrich our data of our buildings. I mean, we are a residential company, so it was very clear where our objects are. That's not a problem, and we know a lot of our districts and our tenants. That's not the tough part. The tough part for us was how could we then use the data that is in the surrounding of our area. So what is around our district? And
What is outside you?
Exactly. So we had no clue about this, and Targomo was the one who dealt with the data outside our district, and we were then combining these two things. And the last question, so good experience, bad experience. I think it was a learning to collect data from internally to push it on another server. So that was one learning. It was harder than expected, and then there are actually hundreds of several use cases we use where we use Targomo in terms of our potential analysis that we initially wanted. For instance, the last mile solutions that are out there. When we ask ourselves the question, where would we place like the next smart locker solution in our district? So we then use Targomo and the Innovation Insight Map to define where it's best, where is the revenue potential the highest, etc. And these are the things we're working on.
That was a close one.
Yeah, that was a close one. Yes. So, if you would like to, if you have any suggestion for other startups, I mean, for a successful partnership with an established company, which piece of advice would you give to them from both sides, from a corporate point of view and from a startup point of view?
Okay, I give it a start. I think one of the advices that I could give is please be patient, because when I think about our relationship, it was a very good project, and we are still proud of what we just developed and what Targomo delivered. But it took a while, right? And when I say it took a while, it was most of the time it was like the corporate that was a bit slower, acting a bit slower than the startup, and I think this is very normal. But we had a relationship, or still have a relationship, that is based on trust, and we were still saying like, yes, we are sure that we want to use the solution over the next year, and please be patient with us, because it took a while when we had to how do you say, there were certain stage gates that we had to cross, and we had to tick some boxes. And, but Targomo was patient, so thank you once again.
So patient is at the basic of a relationship,
Well,
like in a marriage.
Like in a marriage.
Yeah, if I may add from the startup side, what I wanted to firstly say is also be patient. It just takes a little bit longer, but if you know that you have a good fit for the business, sometimes it's worth the wait, right? And this is what we can identify right now, because if you take this first hurdle of going into a collaboration, right, it's also very, very hard to go out of the collaboration for the corporate, right? Because it takes a while. There's a lot of initial cost actually involved in developing giving resources internally, and so it's actually quite interesting now that we are at the stage. We have the trust, and we can start to work together, and it's not very stressful for each of the parties, right? So that is already very good. I think a second point is, I mentioned it in the first one already a bit, but understand what your product can do and what it can't do, right? Really try, especially if you're working in business development, try to understand with your product team or the developers directly, what are you able to deliver? Because you don't want to promise something that is not possible to be built at the very end, right? And a lot of the pilots always come with some additional features, for instance, that are just very, very crucial for the corporate, right? Because they need to have it. And really try to understand with your product team first what you can do, and if you have all the check boxes, then I think you're very good to move forward, and then also put some additional work into this. Third part would be, and this is also great because we had a budget at the very beginning when we won this challenge. Try to don't do anything for free. It's I mean, it sounds funny, but especially for young startups, right? Like going into the first pilot and trying to convince the internal stakeholders that you can deliver a solution, you might be willing to do it for free. What we learned in the past, and this was also very good with Vonovia, is that there is some attachment to this, right? Because there is a budget involved, right? People want to see results at the very end, so people are more involved, right? If you don't work without the budget, then especially the internal stakeholders, they are not like really committed to this, right? And you want to have the commitment from the very beginning, and then and only then it's actually possible to build mutual trust.
Okay. So I would say thank you very much to you two.
Thank you.
For both Chris and Sebastian, and of course Vonovia and Targomo.